All my friends out there in internet land. I am William Honolulu Jr., and I have the privilege and honor of serving as the host of the Black USA News Morning Show. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. I am in the last days of the NAACP conference, the 113th convention. It has been an amazing experience. Big up to Brother Kobe Little, the Reverend Brother Kobe Little, president of the Baltimore City branch of the NAACP. Big up to everybody in the Baltimore City branch of the NAACP. New friend Tiffany, the president out in Western Maryland, along with Fred Chavis, also another president out in Western Maryland. I think Tiffany is in Allegheny County, and Fred is in Hagerstown, I think. Either way, a good brother and a good sister doing amazing work out there. Looking forward to getting opportunity for you all to talk to them and find out what they're doing. It is amazing. When I tell you I have not felt this good in a while. This purposeful, this motivated, this inspired in a while. It is amazing. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to share some of that with you. One of the great things that I appreciate by coming to the convention is to learn the different ways that the NAACP is really influencing the things that happen in our lives. We've moved from, kind of the agitating and raising awareness, because there are other groups who have taken on that mantle, who've done an amazing job of galvanizing communities and organizing them for awareness. And what the NAACP has done has moved into a new role where we coordinate among the organizations that are in the community. That way we are also able, because we pull our volunteers. The predominant number of NAACPers are volunteers. There is a professional staff. A lot of them work at headquarters office, but your local branches tend to be all volunteer run. The reason why is that volunteers understand their community by and large. They are parts of the communities that we serve. And so as a volunteer, I have a vested interest, not just in making sure I get a paycheck, but a vested interest in making sure that we engage in policies and behaviors that actually move the needle and positively impact my community. A lot of the professional staff come from staff level of politics, and some elected officials are also members or professional staff members of the NAACP. So we're in the background talking to people who write checks, talking to people who sign laws and make laws and all of these things, or even enforce the law. So talking to them and influencing them has a greater impact on everything that we do. So yesterday, the NAACP, we focused on labor. So I'm going to share some of the videos and things, some of the video clips that I was able to capture. It's so funny. I came here in my volunteer mindset. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And I had some other topics for the shows for this week. And then I got here and I realized I would be doing a disservice if I didn't share all this stuff with you. So I'm gonna. I didn't bring my camera, the regular camera. So I did bring my phone, and so I have recorded a few hours of video. I'm not going to show them all to you here, but I pulled some really great segments, and to give you kind of a sense of what's going on here. All right, but before we get into that, you all know we got to talk about our peoples. We got to talk about Breadcoin. Breadcoin is an amazing organization that helps individuals who are food insecure or maybe homeless or dealing with some other issues where they are not able to get the nutrition that they need. What Breadcoin does is it takes the donations it receives and then puts value to the coins that they mint. Those coins are then distributed through a network of individuals who are already working in community, already working with people who have needs. So there's no screening. There's no, hey, is this going to a person who really needs or somebody's pockets? We know that it goes into the community. And what happens is the individuals who get the Breadcoin, they come to a restaurant, they utilize Breadcoin along with any other money they have, or just with Breadcoin, pay for their meal, and no one knows any different. They are able to go in and have a meal and still maintain their dignity. It is not them coming in to beg. It is nothing like that. And it gives the the restaurants and the caterers that Breadcoin works with an opportunity to really give back and see that impact in real time. So I am so grateful and proud of the relationship that Black USA News has with Breadcoin, and so always want to hype that up. What else? Oh, making sure that you all check out Donnie Glover's book if you haven't already. It's called I Am Black Wall Street. Donnie Glover, if you're not familiar with him, he is the founder of Be More News, DN Global Firm, and Black USA News, and the Prince Georgian. He is Black media incarnate. And so he has done a different type of scholarship on Black Wall Street, not just looking at Tulsa, Oklahoma as what it was and the horrors that befell that community. He takes a look at how they got there in the first place, because Tulsa, Oklahoma isn't a port city. This wasn't a place where slaves were dropped off, and so in the journey he helps us understand how enslaved Africans had partnered with for formerly enslaved Africans had partnered with Native Americans, and they migrated to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and together they built this amazing community. And it reinforces a lot of what they will be talking about later about the integration and the partnerships when we're talking about labor. It is about the partnerships. It is about the relationships. It is about seeing people who may not look like you or who may not be what you expect, but really recognizing that we have more in common than we have that separates us. And so working together in partnership will really help solidify and really push our agenda forward. So really encourage you to pick up the book I Am Black Wall Street by Donnie Glover. It is a great read and a really great piece of scholarship. Let's see what else. Oh, let me tell you a little bit about my company, The Grinding Gang. All right, let's get back into it. So I want to make sure that that I share with you all some of the clips from the labor focus of the NAACP Convention. I'm going to start off with Robin Williams. She is a member of the NAACP National Board of Directors. She has been in labor for almost 20 years. She has worked with immigrant workers as shop steward at Safeway in Georgetown, as a union official, really putting her nose to the grindstone and ensuring that people have the resources that they need, that laborers and people who and employees, they have the resources that they need and to enjoy a quality of life, not just to be exploited for somebody else's profit. So we're going to take a listen to her, and I'll come back and set up the next clip.
NEA just had an orange and they're here. AFT stand up real quick. AFT in the house, where are you? Regina, they just come back from their convention. NEA, wave real quick, stand up. NEA just come from a conference that they had. Did that have 6,000 teachers? Just come from a conference. Then, I know UAW, President Ray Perry is on his way to his convention. Right after this. We had the AFL-CIO convention 2 weeks ago in Philadelphia. And we have conventions that are happening right now and happening right after this. The United Postal Workers, they purchased a table and wanted to be here, but they have their convention next week, where the chairman will be speaking. Chairman Russell will be speaking. So it was 2019 when we got before. Now we got some NAACP leaders in the house. We got Chairman Russell here, and we got board members here, and we got staff. And we're here in 2022, 2 years later, gathered. And so much has happened in 2 years. Can you turn my phone off? So much has happened in 2 years. In 2019, we were fired up, labor and NAACP, two organizations that for many years worked together. And we continue to do it. But then 2020 hit. When 2020 hit, and week after, in March. And so then I found out on my way back that we had the COVID pandemic, the end of March, and everything shut down. We became a different world. We had to shut down. People couldn't work. People were afraid. Hospitals were full. People were ill. And then, with the country already in a split, they even split us during a pandemic, an illness. They try to blame us for everything, and so now the illness was black folks. And black folks got COVID. And the reason why black folks have COVID, especially black workers, is because we have all these health issues. We got heart disease, we got diabetes, and we overweight. And that was the reality. It's black folks. Our numbers were rising during the pandemic. Am I lying, y'all? You gotta talk to me. Was that the word? It was black folks, and this is the reason why. So, I was not happy with that, Fred. I wasn't happy. I had a heart attack in 2017. I know we got health issues, but let's tell the real story. So I wasn't happy. I was not happy. I said the reason why black folks' numbers are high is we got healthcare disparities. The reason why black folks' numbers are high is because we got the privilege of working from home. We got to go to work. If you want to still get your toilet paper, the toilet paper that's left on the shelf. If you still want to get your Amazon stuff, we got to work. If you still want to get your mail, black folks are in the postal service. If you still want to eat, black folks are there. If you got hospitals that you need to go to and they were packed, guess what, Charles? Black folks was working in the hospital. So wonder why our numbers were so high. Because we were workers. Because we had to work. Our folks were not privileged to stay home. That's why the numbers were high. So I called President Johnson. And then I called my president, Mark Crone. And I said, we got to change this narrative about why black folks' numbers are so high in COVID. Because we are workers. Because we are essential workers. We are essential workers, not just the doctors or the nurses or those that have a light color skin than me, but black folks, right? Race folks went. They couldn't work. So guess what? They were making masks. The UN was working, right? Essential workers. So we changed that narrative in 2020 that we were essential. And the unions were working. And the unions were saying that we need hazardous pay. And we need to protect jobs when people were sick. That happened in 2020. Then in 2021, power was set on fire. And workers got on fire. And workers started talking their own narrative. And workers got bold and said, yeah, we are sick, but we're working. And workers started organizing. And then John Deere, the union that made these big tractors, they were in contract negotiations. And for years, they were trying to get better benefits. And they negotiated the best contract in the history, in the recent history of places. Ray Carey did that. We got contracts. And Starbucks workers said, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of Starbucks workers organized. And Amazon workers said, damn it, y'all got us in here in these warehouses we packed, and people got COVID, y'all making them become the worker. They started organizing. And meat packing plant workers, they started organizing. And teachers started talking. That's power, y'all. Nobody talking to me. Y'all tired? I ain't tired. This is power. This is power. And I'm talking about the changes that's happening. That's why the NAACP can come and say this is power. And you know I took the privilege to say what I wanted to say. How about that, Mr. Chair? Get on my case there. I want to thank all the unions for being here. I'm fired up and I'm ready to go. We got traditional unions, as y'all want to call, and we got new. We got the Amazon workers. Chris, are you in the room? Chris? Hey, raise your hand, but I want your mama to stand up. You raise your hand, where's your mother? Okay. We got these new workers in the room. I want to say something. Can I say something? I want to say this, because I still got the mic. Y'all can get me in trouble later, because I know I'm going to get it. It's okay. I've been in labor movement all my life since I was a child, and I've been in the NAACP since I was 16. And when I was young too. Y'all think I'm on fire now. Y'all know I was really on fire when I was young in the labor movement. But let me tell you something. This is what I know for sure. That we cannot have two labor movements. We can't have three labor movements. We can't have no damn 5 labor movement. It got to be some kind of way. I'm talking to the Secretary of the AFL-CIO. It got to be one movement. And we all got to be moving in the same direction if we want to win against these groups. I'm telling you what I know. I'm telling you what I know. Because Trump's folks, the other side, they're all moving in the same direction. And this is why President Johnson and Fred Redmond and our leaders make sure that we are connected, because that's what power looks like. And so, as I said, that when we say this is not your granddaddy's youth, and this ain't your grandmama's youth, let me tell you what I know. You better find you a granddaddy, like Fred Redmond. You better find you a granddaddy, like Jerry Russell. You better find yourself a mama, like Hazel Duke. You better find yourself a mama. You better find her, like Cleo Graham. You better find yourself a mama, like Dr. Johnson from the AFT. You better find yourself some sisters and some brothers like Ray Carey, some brothers like Carl Cummings. You better find yourself some sisters in the labor movement, like this sister right here. You better find yourself somebody that know how to organize and know how to get a union contract. You better find yourself somebody. Because I started in the labor movement when my daddy told me you need to find yourself a union. My daddy was a preacher. And let me tell you something. Without them, without the granddaddies, the sisters, the brothers, I wouldn't survive. And when you can say, I'm by myself, I did it all, you's a liar. You's a liar. If we gave you some legal folks, we gave you the legal folks. You better find yourself a connection, because when these corporations start whipping our ass up, we better be on the same page. When the enemy come against us and suppress our voting rights, we better be on the same page. When those folks come and say we're pushing old folks off boards, and we're pushing old folks off places where they have open spots for us, there may be times in it though, but you better honor what they've done. I know this. I know this shit. Not sure. But that started when I was young, and now I'm not old, y'all. Y'all know that. But I'm young. And that is power. That is power. So I'm going to tell you right now, we better have one movement. And for those of us that's been here for a while, sometimes the young people will find where they belong. And if they can't get the spot, they're going to create this spot. And I've been saying this for a long time, Fred. No, you better find room for the young people in the movement. They already leaders. They already know how to organize. You better find some room. And we better all connect together if we want power. And I'm saying that. I mean it. We gotta be a movement, one movement. Because when we leave this place, we gotta fight the fight. My president has walked in the room. President Derek Johnson, I hope you're not eating that salad because it's time for you to come to the stage. This brother, President Johnson, I didn't just meet him when he became the president of the NAACP. President Johnson and Ray Carey, we were street organizers in the South. That's where I met them in Mississippi. When he was the president of the Mississippi State Congress, with my unions, the United Commercial Worker Unions, who represent those packing plants, full of black folks in the South. Every time we had to fight, every time we didn't want to pay the wages, every time we didn't have good safety conditions on there, I had to come to Derek and say, Derek, guess what? I need you. Then we went, and Derek said, what you need to do. Because if the union didn't have somebody who looked like me, they would have never gotten to this brother. And when y'all tell me this brother right here, when the NAACP came, they opened up. I don't care. When the NAACP came, when the NAACP came, I said, when the NAACP came. And when that was agreed, they said, we won't give you a union contract. They got back to the table.
All right, that was incredibly powerful, and I really am really grateful. Again, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have been here and to have experienced this. Makes you think of something different. And she was real energetic too. I was like, woo, 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 woo. That was in the morning time. I was like, where'd she get her coffee from? But it is wonderful to have that type of energy and passion around labor, around unionizing, and around making sure that workers have what they need to be successful. She also was followed up by the national president of the NAACP, Derek Johnson, and he talked about a really interesting historical context of how racism actually evolved from the exploitation of labor. It's a really great way, a really thought-provoking way of reassessing how we feel about labor and racism.
First of all, I want to thank all of you for attending this neighbor lunch. Because about 2 weeks ago, we didn't know we were going to be meeting in Atlantic City. Because we want to support these workers that serving us today. So let's give a hand to the workers. And as we begin to try to come out of this pandemic, one of the things we know for a fact that the CEO's been making a whole lot of money. And the workers are working even harder, so they need to share some of that money with the workers. And I'm glad that they're on the road to getting a contract renewal. So congratulations to the workers here at the CEO. Now we are in a unique moment in this history. Let's not be fooled around what's really taking place. That the work of African Americans and other communities have begun to advance the conversation around democracy. The response to that is more white supremacy. And white supremacy for the purpose of maintaining a cheap and despicable labor force. See, much of what's taking place is a distraction because all of it is about money. And business interests have for decades, centuries, learned how to put communities against communities. See, long before Italians was considered white, they were being exploited for cheap labor too. And if you was Irish, you was not considered white, you was being exploited for cheap labor too. If you was Polish, they brought you here to exploit you for cheap labor at the same time they was exploiting black folks for cheap labor. And then when there was not enough white folks in their class, they began to say, okay, well, you Irish, you can be white now. Italians, you can be white now. Because the goal was to create an us versus us reality, but it's all about money. seeking to exploit people. And so I'm glad that we have maintained this labor luncheon, because they will also have us to think that there were two movements, the Civil Rights Black Power movement and the Worker Rights movement, when in fact it's the same movement, because black folks are only here to be exploited for free labor under the system of slavery and better cheap labor under the system of segregation. So we should never allow ourselves to get amnesia or forget what the fight is about. And anytime workers at hotels, regardless of what community they come from, are in the midst of a labor dispute, we should never patronize an establishment to that dispute itself. I appreciate my friend Scott Exton. Scott and I, we joke with each other a lot, and we can actually even grow us hair out. We can't do it. We joke a lot. But Scott has been on a course to support rappers in the entertainment industry for several years now. He encouraged them to come to events, and I'm glad Scott was able to pull it together when they're now about to organize under SAG actors. Because the entertainment industry, believe it or not, although the flashy, you see all of the dookie chains and all the stuff, it is an exploitative industry. Anytime a record company can give an artist $1 million, that don't mean they're making $100 million. And that's not happening. And even in that mix, it's such a fixed game that your manager is related to or go to the same church and synagogue with your publishers who are kin to, the record executives who know the other person over here. Before you know it, you decide a contract and they can advance you money at 25-35% interest. By the time you catch up, you don't have any money to give back to your family. So that's the game of the entertainment industry. If you're not careful, and you look up at all of the folks that's flashing on the screen, behind the scene, they're going back to the same room they came from. And we've seen that generation after generation. So Scott, thank you for pushing to make this become a reality.
Oh, you're the best. Thank you so much for listening.
I grew up in Detroit. Much of my family migrated from West Tennessee in pursuit of jobs. Just like many of your families migrated from the Carolinas to New Jersey, New York, or migrated from Louisiana and Texas to LA and Oakland, all in pursuit of jobs because those jobs were union jobs. Our journey in this country is to try to create a way for our families and our communities that will be better than what we've come out of. And there should be no one in this room to forget that the civil rights movement is the worker rights movement, and the worker rights movement is the civil rights movement. And to see where firms are in the United Auto Workers of America, that's huge. You know, before Ray took the position of president, he was Secretary of Treasury. I came home to speak at the event, and Ray was giving the Treasury report. I started laughing because I knew many people on the stage, and Ray went through the numbers. And I started laughing again because he had more education on that stage in his MBA than in all of his counterparts. I ain't talking about on the same place. He actually was walking the room with billions of dollars in assets they had. And here's the brother. And I reflected on the prior Secretary of Treasury. And Ray was sitting in a meeting in Jackson, Mississippi. He made the comment, wow, you guys have way more education than I do. He was Secretary of Treasury of this huge union. He had skin printers to be in a position that he was not qualified to be in. Based on the numbers, not the election.
Hello.
Think about that.
Yeah.
But he was sitting there. Good guy. Nothing wrong at all. It involved somebody been in the same seat. But then when Ray gets in the seat for the first time, he understands how 1 + 1 actually equals 2. As he's adding up their billions of dollars. And I was proud of that moment because when we walk in these positions, we have to walk in those positions with the capacity to actually carry out the position. Because if we don't, the only thing we do is to replicate the white supremacist policies that was in place to keep our people back. to be sitting in the second most powerful seat in organized labor, that is to be commended. Let's give them credit. And I look over and I see Claude. Now, Claude dressed like he from Detroit sometimes, but he actually from Houston. But if you want to understand why AT&T workers are organized and strong, and these are black workers, that's Paul Cummins as the VP of Communication Workers of America. Any kind of organization, Paul falls away, but more importantly, Paul controls his budget. It's one thing to be over budget, it's another thing to control a budget. And what Claude has done consistently is recognize where there are opportunities to invest and build in black power, because he recognized the future of organized labor is in the South, and it's black and brown than it's ever been. He put his dollars there. $5.5. What did you use this morning? And don't give a sign for none of that, because we don't need her that high. Robin is an energized body, too young to be retired, so she continues to move. And one of her advocacies when she came down to Mississippi was for chicken processing workers. And those workers have been left out. And if you ever seen a chicken processing plant, you may not want to eat chicken.
Facts. Yeah. Real facts.
And because Robin stood in the gap, a lot of those workers got protections, including insurance that were not attacked. I'm saying all of this NAACP, when you go back to home, whether it is in the rural South or in Chicago, whether it's on the West Coast or in Miami, recognize who we work for. Recognize the impact that we have. And recognize the partnership that's vital to the survival of our community. As long as we have workers, we must push for collective bargaining, because if we don't, they will collectively exploit us. If they collectively exploit us, we will cease to be able to make the necessary progress for our future, for our children, and to make democracy work for all. Peace and power.
Okay. Right. Makes you think about it totally different. It's like, well, wait a minute. What was it? There was a letter that Martin Luther King Jr. wrote near the end of his life. And I want to see if I can find it. I want to say it was the letter from the Birmingham jail, where he talked about how economic power, you couldn't have civil rights unless you had you couldn't have civil justice unless you had economic justice. This is something like that. I'm messing it up. But I really appreciated the way President Johnson really brought in and showed how it is all related, how they wanted the workers to not have resources. So in Maryland, we recently had an election, and there were some people say, well, my vote doesn't matter, and getting really disillusioned about the state of our democracy or the state of our republic. And some of them don't vote just because they don't think it's important, or somebody else will do it, or we live in a blue state, or we live in a red state, so we don't have to worry about things like that. Well, this is a former New Jersey State Senate President, Steve Sweeney, and listen to his story. Well, first he's going to be introduced by the president, the former state president of the New Jersey NAACP. But he's going to tell you a little bit about what happens when people don't vote and what that can mean for all of the progress that has been made. So,
in Philadelphia, when the Republican National Convention was held in that city in 2007. He said this in no way would be a precedent setter. He indicated that he would make the same request for us for $1 million. $1 million. Remember that. I shared this information with the committee. Months passed, the November election was held. The Senate president was upset by his challenger after serving 20 years in the Senate. Wow. He and I spoke about the election, and I did not raise the appropriations topic. However, at the end of our conversation, he said, he indicated that he was going to make good on his commitment. A couple weeks later, I received an email from my dear friend Kevin Drennan in the Senate Majority Office with a bill attached, Bill S-4218. The bill said, this bill appropriates $2 million to CRDN to support the costs associated with hosting the NAACP National Convention in Atlantic City, New Jersey. $2 million, not $1 million. I believed it was a typo, and I hesitantly called the Senate Majority Office to speak to Kevin Drennan to inquire about the difference in the amount, and was informed that Senate President Sweeney instructed that the bill reflect $2 million, not $1 million. Kevin Drennan said, President Smith, do you need less? I said, oh, no. Oh, you need that thing just the way Senator Sweeney told you to do it. Senator Sweeney requested the incoming Senate President, Senator Spatari, act as the sponsor of the bill. It ultimately passed the Senate 27-5 with 8 abstentions. Immediately following its passing, I was informed that our dear friend, Legislator of the Year Award recipient, Assemblywoman Berlina Reynolds Jackson, from my hometown of Trenton, New Jersey, picked up the bill and sponsored it on the Assembly side. So we thank her as well. The bill passed the Assembly on January 10th, 49-24. Governor Phil Murphy signed the bill. Ladies and gentlemen, this went a long way in ensuring the financial foundation required to make this event a success. My brothers and sisters, it is with great honor that I introduce the most and present to others my dear friend, former New Jersey State Senate President Steve Sweeney. Please stand on your feet and give him a much round of applause. How do you like New Jersey? I can tell you, we love the NAACP also. Thank you for being here. We are thrilled to have the National Convention here in New Jersey, and hopefully you're enjoying yourself. I'm sure you're a little bit tired after a few days of the event. And I got to tell you, Richard Smith, when he became the president of the NAACP, he came with an agenda. And he wanted to get things done. And I was proud to be a partner of his. You know, we're talking about elections. I'm going to tell you about some things we did here in New Jersey. But why you have to be concerned about the future. We did bail reform. We ensured people that were poor, the top bail reform program in the state. You know, we were holding people in jail because they were poor. That's wrong. We passed bail reform. We gave Voting Rights Act, put 83,000 people back on the voting list. We provided millions of dollars in funding for Second Chance. Because you know we all made mistakes in life. And it's a life that should never be wasted. Social justice. We passed cannabis legislation, including expungement of convictions of criminals. Tens of thousands of people we expunged their records. Everyone's arguing about, well, you know, marijuana is going to raise a lot of tax money. What should we do with the money? We said, put it back in the communities that have been impacted by marijuana. And we put all the money back in the communities that have been impacted, because that's where it belongs. Now, we passed legislation protecting women's health care here in New Jersey. Thank God before that they did it, unfortunately, out in Washington. We're one of the first states to pass a $15 minimum wage. But guess what? We did different. We put a CPI in it. So as inflation goes, people that are working day and night don't have to wait for a legislature somewhere to wake up or a federal government to increase the minimum wage. Our state is one of the very first that has paid family leave. For the people that don't, it is a game changer. It is a life change. But unfortunately in Washington, they don't care about us. They don't think about us, they don't think about working families. When you're in a hospital worried about your loved one, you shouldn't have to worry about going to work. You should be where you're supposed to be, which is with your family. We did that in New Jersey. The elections. Everyone talks about elections. I stand before you as an example of what happens when people don't vote. I have stood for workers' rights, for brown, black, white, all workers. I lost my election. No one could believe I lost my election. You know what happened? People didn't vote. The person that beat me is radical to the right, probably as radical as Donald Trump. Replace me. My point is, what you do in elections matters. Because all the good things that we have done here, all the great things that we've done in New Jersey's not a progressive state. It's a moderate state. It could go the other way tomorrow if we don't vote. When I looked at the polls, the pollster said to me, he says, you know, 2/3 of the least enthused voters are with me. That's not a good feeling. I lost my election. It happens. But what you legislate, all those wonderful things, and I could go on and on and on for the things that we've done in New Jersey to protect working families, all could be gone with the change of the legislature, with the change of the government. You know, we shouldn't let the perfect get in the way of the good. You hear that saying all the time? We're so unhappy because we're not perfect, but we're good. We need to work together to ensure that we don't go backwards. It's hard taking steps forward. It's very hard to do what we've done. Here in New Jersey with Richard Smith, a really dynamic leader, with a plan and with a mission, we got things done. But what if it's a legislature that no matter how strong his voice is, and we've all been ignored, no matter how strong his voice is, they don't hear it. So we don't want to go backwards. We need to go forward. I heard Vice President Harris's statements in her speech. It's up to us. We should be taken for granted, and we won't be taken for granted, but the other side, they're not with us. They're not with us. So again, thank you all for being here in New Jersey. Hit the casinos, they could use the help, and hope to have you back in a few years. Congratulations. Love the Lord, say.
As we wrap up that day of labor and focus on our partnerships and things like that, I'm going to end with John Chapman. He is the imperial potentate of the ancient Egyptian Arabic order Nobles Mystic Shrine. It has been a long-term partner of the NAACP. You'll hear him talk about the amount of donations that they're making and things like that. But he also talks about the importance of voting, and the importance of understanding something bigger than yourself. Understanding how the entire world works, and that you have an obligation and an opportunity to serve your fellow man.
Amen. If you feel blessed that His grace and mercy has brought you here today, that you are purposeful for others other than yourself, say amen again. They didn't tell me I was going to be on after a black preacher. I was just back home. So the black preacher told me that when you want folks' attention, just talk about God first and you'll be okay. Before I proceed with any remarks, let me say that the cherished love of my life, 41 years with this boy, is seated here this morning, my beautiful wife, Kelly. I also have one of my board members with me this morning, Thomas Rogers Hughes Sr. He's is not only a board member of the AEA/ONMS Incorporated, but he's also a past Most Worshipful Grand Master of the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge in the jurisdiction of New Jersey. Stand up, thank you. Bishop, I don't know how I got here, because I wasn't supposed to be on this journey. Let me say to all of you that the lust of wealth, which generates a greater lust of power, is what's turning this country into something that it was never intended.
All right,
For 42 years, I worked in public schools in several areas of this country. Let me tell you this. We've lost one generation of children, and we're on the brink of losing another. That's what makes us so vulnerable as a people. Because when I turned 18, I couldn't wait to vote. Many of our young children today don't know what voting is. Have no idea. As a building principal, any child in my building that was 18 years of age, we registered in the vote. Let me tell you, I come a long, long way. I'm from a little crack back in the city of Philadelphia called Pulaski. Now, if you know anything about the Girls and Boys Clubs of America, my club was the first African-American club, WUSA history. People like Frank Washington, Herb Allen, and other notables. Okay, we grew up in Pulaski Town. We went to that club. It nurtured us, got us along in life. Okay, Bishop, I got a platinum card, a titanium card. I'm wearing custom-made suits, custom-made shoes. Okay, but let me tell you this here. When I was a young child coming along, I wore speckled corduroys and brogans, and I had to fight so much in school because my mother handed down my sister's white blouses, So everybody knew it was a girl's blouse because the button was on the wrong side. Leon and I met affectionately last year, and being two light-skinned boys rooted in Virginia, when he got to Philadelphia, because I invited him to attend our 128th session, I brought Leon something that all Virginians love. Okay, my hand. I said, look, hey, listen, you look, you cooking greens and snaps and all those other things, baby llamas, and put a little piece of that ham in, and you ready to go. Okay? And if you boil it in the morning, okay, and take it out and fish it, and let it dry out, and put it in the pan with a little bacon grease. Okay, get yourself some coffee grinds. You can have some country ham and red-eye gravy. But let me say that our purposes as organizations and the Prince Hall Shriners will soon be rooted in 18 countries because I'm going to charter a temple in Brazzaville, the Congo. Okay. 18 countries in 47 states with over 350,000 members across the world. And let me say this to the NAACP. We were the original financial backers of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. Somehow or another, we lost that step because we get important. We got credit cards, mortgages. We think we're important. Well, let me say this. My grandchildren, their mothers are Caucasian. And she said to my wife, well, my children are not black or white, they're mixed. I said, no. Here's what they'll be when they meet their first redneck and ask you what you going to do with your children. That's what they're going to do. This is the character. Reality is purposeful. We have to come together shoulder to shoulder, okay, to fight the political battle, because those are the battles that will ensure that another Clarence Thomas will never, ever be nominated. It will ensure that even in spite of my maybe moral objections, a woman has the right to decide what happens to her and what she does in her life. And since we talk about women, let me tell all you women out there in the audience that whether you like it or not, you are the keepers of morality in our world and in this society. So the plain fact of the matter is, when a woman loses her morals, we go to hell in a handbasket real quick. And that's a fact. So I say to you this morning, and to Chairman Russell and his board, that ancient Egyptian, Arabic-born, and nobles of this time of North and South America stand ready to support the NAACP in its efforts. We do an annual recruitment program for membership. Noble Hughes will participate in our board meeting tonight. We, the nobles of Mr. Trine, will donate $25,000 to the legal defense. And our lady called Julie, his daughter, Devices, will donate another $25,000. But that's not enough. And there's never going to be enough. And I'm just grateful that I feel that grace's mercy every morning. You know, Noble Hughes was with me this morning, and Honorary Pastor Bill Pope Alfonso graduated. They're members of Alpha Phi Alpha. But I'm a member of the greatest fraternity on earth, known to God and man, Kappa Alpha Psi. Bishop, like the song says, the Crimson Stream will never lose its power. But I'm going to take my leave, and I want to thank you for having us here today. I want to thank in particular Alfonso Braggs and Bill Lewis, the Circuit Chairman, Leon Russell, for this opportunity. It's just time to bring this blended giant together and show America that we are a true democracy, that we all matter, okay? And that the richness of being a citizen of this great nation is that we can all do better at any time for any reason. Bishop, God bless you.
Well, this has been a really, really powerful conference. I am so grateful to have been here. I feel motivated and empowered to come back and redouble my efforts to have a more significant impact in the community. Well, I think we'll finish off our series on the NAACP conference tomorrow, and I will be black then.